I crossed a line I can never uncross. I let my stepson, my husband's son, look at me like I was safety. And I let it happen. I kissed him. I comforted him in a way no mother should. And then I found the camera. He saw it all, Eric. He set me up, and I walked right into it. I betrayed Evan. I betrayed myself. And now? I deserve every ounce of disgust you're feeling. I do. I really, really do. My stepson said he was scared, so I showed him exactly what his father never could. I never thought I'd be the kind of woman who would say that out loud, let alone mean it. But I did. I still do. It wasn't planned. It wasn't some secret fantasy. And it definitely didn't feel glamorous or thrilling. It felt messy. It felt terrifying. It felt inevitable. I guess I should start at the beginning. Before you make up your mind about me. My name's Marissa. I'm 42, divorced, and if I'm being honest, a little too good at pretending I'm okay. I work an hour. I bake on weekends. I listen to true crime podcasts when I can't sleep. You'd pass me in the grocery store and never guess what I've done. But I know. I live alone now, in a cabin my ex-husband and I used to escape to before things fell apart. It's quiet here, too quiet. Sometimes, most days I don't mind. But then, there was that week. The week Tyler came to stay. Tyler is my ex's son. 24. He used to call me March to March when he was little. I hadn't seen him in almost 2 years. Then his mother passed, and suddenly he was here. In my space. In my silence. I didn't expect the way it would hit me, his eyes. Older now, but still carrying that same ache he had as a boy. He looked lost, untethered, and I wanted to protect him. I wanted to give him something gentle in a world that had been so cruel to both of us. But I crossed a line. Not because I wanted to. Because I didn't stop it. And that's where this story really begins. After the divorce, the cabin became mine. He offered it in the settlement like it was nothing. Just a structure, just a place. But it used to be our escape, the only place we laughed without forcing it. Now, it's just quiet. Too quiet. Some nights, I can hear the wind breathing through the wood. Other nights, it's the silence that keeps me up. I fill the space with routines, folding laundry like it matters. Reheating the same soup, scrolling through news I don't care about. It's strange how easy it is to disappear in your own home. I hadn't seen Tyler since the divorce. He stayed with his mother, understandably. She hated me, maybe for good reason. But then she got sick. Fast, and within 3 months, she was gone. That's when my ex called. He asked if Tyler could stay with me for a while, just until things settle. No apology, no explanation, just convenience. I said yes. Not for him. For Tyler. He arrived with 2 bags and a look I'll never forget, like he was holding his whole life together with one breath. He looked older. But smaller, somehow. Like loss had made him fold inward. The first few days felt careful. Tyler was polite, almost too polite. He called me Marissa, not March to March, like he used to. He offered to do the dishes. Made his bed without being asked. Barely touched the food I made. It was like living with a guest who didn't want to impose. And maybe he didn't. Maybe he wasn't sure if he was welcome. I tried to give him space. Let him settle. But I couldn't help watching him when he thought I wasn't looking. He had his mother's eyes. That quiet sadness. That heaviness. He spent most of his time in the spare room, door cracked. Headphones in. At dinner, we made small talk. Weather, news, silence. I asked how he was sleeping. He said fine. I didn't believe him. Grief has a way of shrinking people. Even tall ones like Tyler. And the weight of it hung between us like fog, thick. But unspoken. One night, I passed by his room and heard him crying. It was muffled, soft, but it cracked something in me. I didn't knock. I didn't say anything. I just stood there in the hallway, heart aching, hand halfway to the door. And then I turned away. Not because I didn't care. Because I didn't know how to help. Not yet. It was the third night of a heavy storm. The wind howled through the trees like it was looking for a way in. Rain tapped against the windows in uneven rhythms, and the power blinked out just before midnight. No lights, no heat, just darkness and the faint sound of the storm pressing in on all sides. I lit a few candles and grabbed the extra quilts from the closet. The air inside the cabin had turned cold, sharp enough to sting if you stood still too long. I thought Tyler had gone to bed, so I didn't check on him. But when I passed the living room, I saw him curled up on the couch, shivering. The blankets had fallen. His hoodie was damp at the edges, probably from letting the dog out earlier. He looked small again. "Hey," I said softly, "why aren't you in bed?" He sat up quickly, rubbing his eyes. Didn't want to bother, figured I'd stay out here. I hesitated, holding the quilt to my chest. "There's no heat. You'll freeze out here." He shrugged. "I'm fine." I stood there for a moment, then said, "Come to my room. It's warmer. You can have the bed." He stared at me like he didn't quite understand. "I'll sleep in the chair," I added, already walking away before he could argue. A few minutes later, he followed. We didn't talk. I gave him the blankets, dimmed the candle. I curled up in the chair with a book I wasn't really reading. And somewhere, between the silence and the storm, I heard him whisper, "Thank you." I woke up to the sound of movement. The candle had burned out. The room was dark, except for a sliver of moonlight leaking through the window. I blinked, disoriented, my neck aching from the chair. Tyler was sitting up in bed, his knees pulled to his chest. "Can't sleep?" I whispered. He nodded, but didn't look at me. "I keep seeing her, my mom, the hospital, the way she looked at the end. His voice cracked, my heart clenched. I got up without thinking, crossed the room, and sat at the edge of the bed. "You don't have to talk," I said, "just breathe." He wiped his face with his sleeve, then looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time since he'd arrived. "I'm scared," he whispered. "Of what?" He hesitated. "Sarah, she wants to be with me. But I don't know what I'm doing. I'm afraid I'll mess it up. Be awful. She'll leave." His vulnerability hit me like a wave. I reached out, just to touch his hand. A gesture of comfort, that was all. But he didn't let go. His fingers tightened around mine. Our eyes locked. And then he leaned in. So did I. The kiss was soft, hesitant, 1 second, maybe 2. I pulled away first. My heart pounded, my mind screamed. What the hell am I doing? He looked down, ashamed. "I'm sorry." "No," I said quickly, my voice trembling. It's okay. We're both just tired." I stood up, but my legs felt heavy. I turned away before I could say more. Before I could stop whatever had just started. I didn't sleep. Not even a minute. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, the kiss playing over in my mind like it had been branded there. It hadn't been long, it hadn't been deep, but it had been real. Too real. Tyler's breath was steady now. He'd drifted off, his body finally surrendering to the exhaustion. But mine wouldn't. I could still feel his lips, uncertain, warm, soft in a way that caught me completely off guard. He hadn't kissed like a boy. He'd kissed like someone who needed to feel safe, like someone reaching out in the dark, begging not to be alone. And I'd answered. I pulled the blanket higher around my shoulders, but it didn't stop the chill, not the kind that came from the storm outside, but the one crawling through my chest. The one that whispered, "You should have stopped it." But I didn't, not really. I could say it was instinct. that I wanted to protect him, that it was a moment of confusion. But if I'm being honest, it also felt good. Human. To be touched, to be seen, not as a mother, not as someone's ex-wife, but as a woman. That terrified me more than anything. When I finally got up, the sun was just beginning to bleed into the sky. I crept out quietly, made coffee with shaking hands. And when he appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes, giving me that sleepy, grateful smile, I didn't know whether to smile back or fall apart. The morning light felt too bright. It filtered through the kitchen window like it had something to prove, like it wanted to expose every hidden thought I was trying to bury. I stood at the sink, staring into my coffee, waiting for the world to slow down. But it didn't. Tyler walked in barefoot, hair messy, hoodie zipped halfway up. He looked normal, relaxed, even. He mumbled a soft, "morning," like we hadn't crossed a line in the middle of the night. I nodded, pretending to sip from my mug. "You sleep okay?" he asked, casually. I hesitated. "Yeah, you?" He grinned. "Best I've had in weeks." And just like that, something in me cracked. Because for him, it had brought peace. But for me, it brought a weight I wasn't sure I could carry. I watched him move around the kitchen, humming softly, grabbing a banana from the counter like this was just another day. And maybe for him, it was. Maybe he didn't feel it like I did. Or maybe he didn't know he should. He glanced at me, cheerful. "Do you want me to make eggs or something?" My throat tightened. I shook my head. "No, I'm not hungry." He shrugged and leaned against the counter, biting into the fruit. I wanted to scream, to ask him how he could act so calm. But I didn't. Instead, I smiled, a small, tight, unnatural smile. Because what else could I do? I couldn't undo the kiss, couldn't erase the way my hand had lingered on his. All I could do was try to breathe, try to move forward. Pretend. So I poured more coffee, stirred it with shaky fingers, and wondered how many mornings I could fake before something inside me finally gave out. I kept telling myself it was a mistake. That it was just one moment, one lapse, one kiss in the dark between two lonely people who didn't know what to do with their grief. But the problem was, I didn't regret it the way I was supposed to. I wanted to. God, I wanted to feel disgusted with myself. I wanted shame to come crashing down on me so hard that it wiped away the warmth I still felt on my lips. But instead, I kept remembering the way he looked at me. Not with lust. With trust. That's what hurt the most. Because he wasn't trying to seduce me. He wasn't manipulating. He was just reaching. And I was the one who met him halfway. I started avoiding him, spent hours outside pretending the garden needed attention, took long walks down the gravel path even when my knees ached. He noticed. Of course he did. But he didn't push. He gave me space. He smiled when I passed him in the hall. And that smile, it wasn't smug. It was soft, almost hopeful. That made it worse. Because part of me wanted to see it again. I'd stand at the bathroom mirror, brushing my hair, wondering what it would feel like to let it happen again. To stop pretending I didn't feel seen for the first time in years. But then I'd picture Evan, my real son, just 17. What would he think if he knew? What would Tyler think 5 years from now? I wasn't just crossing a line. I was redrawing it. So I started journaling again. Long, frantic pages in the middle of the night. As if writing the guilt down would make it disappear. It didn't. It only made the silence feel louder. I found it by accident. I was dusting the bookshelf in the guest room, the one Tyler had been using, and noticed the small photo frame on the top shelf was out of place. It had always faced forward. Now it tilted slightly toward the bed. I reached up to adjust it. That's when I saw the lens. Tiny, black, blinking. My chest seized. I stood there, frozen, the duster still in my hand, as my mind raced to connect the pieces. Who put it there? Why? And then it hit me, like ice down my spine. Eric. My ex-husband. He was the only one who'd been in this cabin besides us. He'd come by a few weeks before Tyler arrived, claiming he needed to grab some fishing gear he left behind. I hadn't thought much of it then. But now? Now I could see it. He knew Tyler would be here. He knew I'd be vulnerable. And maybe he wanted to catch something. Not to protect his son. To destroy me. I grabbed the frame and yanked it down. My hands trembled as I pried the back off and found the micro SD card. I didn't even want to know what it had captured, but I knew it was bad enough. Bad enough to ruin me. Bad enough to take Evan away from me if it got into the wrong hands. And in Eric's hands, everything was the wrong hands. I stared at the memory card in my hand for what felt like hours. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, silent. Still, like if I didn't move, time would pause long enough for me to think clearly. It didn't. The footage was real. The consequences would be real. And whatever I had felt for Tyler, however brief, didn't change what this was: evidence. Leverage. A trap. I opened my laptop, slid the card in, my fingers hovered over the keys. Part of me wanted to delete it, bury it, pretend none of it had ever happened. But another part, some strange, aching part, wanted to watch. To see what he saw. To understand how I looked through someone else's eyes. And maybe, to understand who I'd become. My cursor blinked, waiting. In the hallway, I heard Tyler laugh softly at something on his phone. That sound, that warmth, cut through me. He still trusted me. Evan still needed me. And Eric? He still hated me. I closed the laptop. I didn't delete the file. Not yet. Maybe I was waiting for a reason. Maybe I was waiting for the right moment. Maybe I just wanted to know. If you were me, would you destroy the evidence? Or use it first?